WikiLeaks tells us a little bit more about our presidential candidate Hillary Clinton. This time, it's not good stuff. It doesn't sound very much like the liberal position, that's for sure. So marijuana.com breaks down this leak and another leak. Well, in the same leak, they also discovered a situation where she was trying to attack another candidate on their position of not being liberal enough on marijuana. We'll get to that in a second. So on Monday, marijuana.com was the first to report on a message showing that former Secretary of State spoke out against legalizing marijuana in a paid speech to Xerox. Now this is in the WikiLeaks releases of in which the leaks contain several of her paid speech transcripts. Something that, if you remember, in the primaries was a highly sought out bunch of documents. So people were hashtagging release the transcripts. There was a question asked about it in the one of the debates, and she never released them herself. So when WikiLeaks released it, there's a lot of outlets reporting on various things that they had found in it, but we still hadn't heard about anything pertaining to the issue of legalization of marijuana. So now we know. This is back and forth with somebody at this paid speech for Xerox, Ursula Burns. Now, what this is, this exchange, basically, let me set this up, because it took me a couple times of reading it to really understand what was going on here. Ursula is explaining what a yes or no vote in terms of support means, and she's basically breaking it down like, what kind of support do we get from you, like big time support, long. So let's just go through it. Ursula Burns, so long means thumbs up, short means thumbs down, or long means I support, short means I don't. It's pretty simple stuff. If you say long, you're supporting, short, no. I'm going to give you about 10 long shorts, meaning I'm going to run 10 things by you and you say long or short. And Clinton had a comment there. She said, even if you could make money on a short, you can't answer short. So if she's going to ask her a long short, and if you can't make money on it, then you can't even answer short. That was a weird, I don't understand where Secretary Clinton was coming from on that one. So anyway, Ursula Burns, you can answer short, but you got to be careful about letting anybody else know that. They will be against you. So legalization of pot. That's the first long short that she asked Secretary Clinton. Clinton said, short in all senses of the word. Now, whoa. Again, short means I don't. And even if you wanted to clear up a short by lying about it, just because you're not going to be able to make money off it, and I'm not sure where she's making the money from, by siding one way or another on an issue. So with marijuana, it's apparently the legalization of pot was the long short ask, and the answer from Hillary Clinton was short in all senses of the word. That's pretty damning. I mean, let's just say this. If she was going to try to reach out to voters on the left, I mean, why wouldn't she? She's running as the Democratic nominee. So if she's going for people on the left, I would assume that she would be along on that one. Like, I'm long, big time, for legalizing pot. But again, this speech isn't. And another leak basically let the cat out of the bag. Something that a lot of people have probably known about Hillary Clinton and about just about everybody, and that's in politics. That she has a public position and a private position. And we all know that politicians have that going on, but to hear someone say it and then to later on, now that was another leak that was revealed in the WikiLeaks in another paid speech transcript to one of the bankers or whatever. And as it says here, The excerpt is from an 80-page document prepared by Clinton's campaign highlighting potentially problematic passages from her paid speeches to Goldman Sachs, General Electric, Deutsche Bank, and other major corporations. So they're basically combing through these speeches and parsing out the stuff that would, be problematic if it got out to the public. And lo and behold, that got out to the public. And it is problematic because you got to take if you're running as the Democrat, the Republicans usually don't take the position of ending prohibition of marijuana or anything else. You gotta be at least fooling people that you're on the other side of it. So we're about to get into how she's been, what throughout the campaign and maybe even before that. What was her position anyway? What was, out of all the things she said, where is she actually at on this issue for real? Because people really want to know. There's people getting locked up every 40 seconds ish for marijuana, and I might be saying a little bit when I say locked up, but I do mean that they are getting charged and ticketed and maybe locked up and maybe a lifetime of misery because of some stupid weed ticket. So what's her actual position? Well, I've reported on it before. We really don't know because she's got that public position and that private position. We know her private position is a hardcore no on legalizing pot, whatever pot means. I know they were probably just saying, the drug laws are probably the source of the mass incarceration problem everybody keeps talking about. What are you going to do about it? In that term, she said, no, we're not going to legalize marijuana. We're going to keep rolling them arrests up. Another one of these leaks, like I said earlier, lets you know that she's basically the kind of politician that will say anything just to attack the opponent, or for that matter, is willing to say anything, even if it's a slight change in their position or their perceived position, then, it's mainly just to attack the other person and smear a little dirt on them. It doesn't really reveal what your position is when you do these kind of attacks, if it were to be done. Now, this leak basically revealed that that her staffers had proposed to her that they do these attacks in the primary on opponent Marin O'Malley for evolving too slowly on marijuana decriminalization. That's pretty bizarre. Well, Governor O'Malley opposed decriminalizing marijuana until the day he signed it into law, reads a suggested talking point in an email sent last October by Tony Clark, the Clinton campaign's research director. So he probably looked into it and found out that, a bunch of activists were kind of mad at Marin O'Malley because until the day that the decriminalization package hit his desk, he was basically opposed to it. So he took this guy, Tony Clark, the Clinton campaign research director, took that and was probably like, oh, okay, let's use this against him. Let's say he was, because of why somebody on the left wouldn't like someone. Now, that's a pretty generic way to run a campaign, if you ask me. What you should do is stake out a real position that is actually more favorable than a position that you can prove the other opponent has. And in Marin O'Malley's case, you could say, oh, he was slow to decriminalize. Well, Hillary can't do this shit. She cannot do it because she has never had the position of decriminalizing cannabis. Not even after taking a public position of talking about Schedule 2, she still never said anything about decriminalizing. It's all still like, oh, if you don't follow the rules, you go to jail. Law and order. Now, if you want to look back throughout the years, we can go back to 2007 when she was also running for president. Then she was a little more specific about it. Quote, I don't think we should decriminalize it. Period. End of quote. Since then, she has endorsed a number of reforms, such as rescheduling cannabis under federal law to Schedule 2, which would totally uproot the medical marijuana industry as it now operates in 25 states in the District of Columbia under different regulations in each state. It's kind of an experiment right now to see what works and what don't. But if you Schedule 2 it, the FDA would shut that down immediately. Another one, she also apparently called for allowing states to set their own policies. I'm not sure when she did that, and I don't know the exact details of this apparent position, but I'm going to say that I don't believe that matters if you schedule to it, because then the states are going to have to respect the federal law and not allow people to engage in producing, manufacturing, using Schedule 2, unapproved Schedule 2. Like, it's Schedule 2 means it still has to go through a certain kind of approval process before it becomes available for medicinal uses in the form that they approve. All right, so just rolling up some buds and lighting it up with a lighter might not be one of their approved methods of consumption, even though the federal government used to provide rolled joints to medical marijuana patients for decades. So yeah, the campaign never ended up deploying the Evolve Too Slowly attack against O'Malley because she's never clearly called for removal of criminal penalties, even in those situations where she's just had some rhetoric that sounded like maybe she was a little bit more for doing something different. Clinton's current campaign website does not say that she supports alternatives to incarceration for low-level nonviolent marijuana users, quote, unquote, but language is sufficiently vague as to possibly include continued arrests and forcing people caught with cannabis to go to drug courts to avoid being set behind bars. She also said during a Democratic debate last year that we've got to stop imprisoning people who use marijuana. That sounds good in a speech or a debate or whatever, but it also sounds like she's in a debate with Bernie Sanders, and Bernie Sanders says, we're taking it right off schedule. And she probably said, whoa, slow down, whoa, we got to do something about it, but let's not go that far. But we should stop imprisoning people that use it. It's one of those things where she probably used that as an agreement point. And I'm not really interested in digging into that debate and finding that line and actually going back over it, because to be honest, man, nothing that Hillary Clinton says is really that believable anyway, especially on positions in things that people on the left are interested in, because I don't know if anybody out there, maybe you can comment as to why anybody on the left should trust her with any policy is beyond me. I don't even have any idea. She don't even pay women the same as men in the Clinton Foundation. Did you know that? I mean, it's really and this stuff about this wishy-washy, it's always wishy-washy with Hillary. Reschedule or decriminalize or whatever, like she's even talking about allowing states to do states' rights with cannabis. I don't see how you can do both. So that's wishy-washy, and she's got that position on just about everything else too. Yep, she did say that in a debate, but she stopped short of calling for an end to arrest, court cases, and other life-damaging criminal records that will be created for these ramped-up marijuana charges. In addition to prison sentence, people convicted of marijuana and other drug offenses face collateral consequences such as loss of college financial aid, reduced job prospects, removal from public housing, and in some cases denial of the right to vote. And this doesn't even act like you had a job when you got caught with the marijuana, because guess what? You're probably going to lose your job too. A review of speeches, debate transcripts, and interviews show that Clinton has never publicly used the word decriminalization to describe her favorite approach to marijuana policy. And that's that. Believe Hillary or don't, she's never said decriminalize. Everything points to she wants to hand this off to her buddies over at the FDA and the big pharma. So I personally am not voting for Hillary. I'm not voting for Trump either, but I definitely can't vote for somebody that's totally against everything I believe in, or don't take a strong enough position for that matter.